Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
Now, here's your host, Ed Cohen.
Hi, this is Ed Cohen. I'm coming to you today from Big Bear Lake, that's 7,000 feet high above Southern California. There's snow on the ground and the sun is just coming up. And I welcome you all to Global TV Talk Show. This is a service of globalbusinessnews.net, which we set up in 2003. And since then, Google Analytics has tracked audience development, and they say a little over 1.2 million audience reader page views, as they call it. And since March 1, they say about 75,000 reader page views, and a lot of that has to do with the videos. So thank you very much for participating. We're going to quickly ask each of you now to introduce yourselves very, very quickly, 30 seconds. Each will have time to speak for sure as we get into the program, okay? My job is to make all this happen and to watch the clock and so that everybody has access. So let's begin. Sahar Andrade, hello, welcome.
I am Sahar Andrade. I am from California, the United States, the beautiful Los Angeles. I am a diversity, equity, and inclusion professional. I do that from the bottom of my heart. I have been all over the world. I grew up in 7 different countries, and I'm grateful to be speaking 5 languages. I go through diversity, equity, and inclusion from a sensitivity point of view, from a scientific point of view, on neuroscience findings on why we have unconscious bias, because I believe if we go through the root, not through the symptoms, we are able to minimize unconscious bias. I have a medical degree. I majored in psychiatry, never practiced, but I use whatever education and knowledge that I have in helping people minimize unconscious bias, doing individuation, doing stereotype replacement. And this is what I have been doing for the last 9 years, and I love it.
Thank you very much. Let's try to keep to 30 seconds. Sandrine Bardot, coming to us from France. Welcome, bonjour.
Bonjour, thank you so much for having me again. So yes, I'm French, but I'm usually based in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates. I'm a global consultant and trainer in performance and reward. So I cover everything from compensation and benefits, performance management, employee engagement, retention, employee well-being, and so on. And I know some of you, not everybody, delighted to be here in this new year.
And Dr. Natalie Forrest. Welcome, Natalie.
Well, thank you. I'm coming to you right now from Maryland, United States, after a short trip over to Germany over the break. And I am an intuitive transformational mentor in life and business. I deal with the subconscious mind. I help leaders become or maintain great leadership, as well as help create and maintain amazing teams, all based on respect for one another.
Thank you. So Natalie has been on our program several times and has spoken at our live meetings as well. And I'm really delighted to have you back again.
Thank you.
So we're here to celebrate and to honor the memory and the work of Supreme Court Justice, the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and all that she has done for women's rights. And this show is about business, so we'll leave all the politics aside. But women belong in every single position available to men. I believe that, and many others, of course, do too. We're entering a new era now with this craziness going on in Washington and the pandemic. People are looking for a different kind of leadership, and it could well be that you ladies are going to be in the forefront more than perhaps you want to be, because you're doing things in business and you're on this program. And so this shows guts as well as smarts to recognize the wonderful PR value of Zoom and what we're doing here at Global TV. So I want to introduce Patrick Michaels, who's a new friend. He's been in marketing and advertising and PR and business advisory forever. Patrick, welcome.
Good morning, Ed. Great to be here again. I'm Patrick Michaels, founder and CEO of Represent, which is a global representation firm specializing in 6 core verticals. And I'm also a partner brand ambassador of Next 90 Days, which is a C-suite transformation firm that has a very particular program for transformation for firms requiring assistance within 90 days. So in Philadelphia at the moment, but I do live in central London. Until things settle down, I will be based in the US.
Yeah, well, welcome again. So we want you to jump in whenever you can during this program with your perspective.
Sure.
So Rob Maisel in New York. Rob and I have known each other for about 8 months, I guess, and he's been on the program several times. He's a cross-cultural maven, and he's been around the world at least once, lived in Japan for a while, and he's writing a book, and you're almost done with it. Is that correct?
That's correct, Ed. Thanks so much for the generous introduction. Yeah, in the final stages here, just coming to the finish line.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so you're not going to reveal the title of this book, right?
I mean, I could, but it would be false because I don't have it locked down yet, to be honest. It's getting there, but it's not there yet.
All right, let's jump over to Harvinder Freeman. Harv, welcome. You are with Cooper Vision and running global mobility. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, as Ed said, Harvinder Freeman. I was in the oil and gas industry in Houston for about 10 to 12 years. And just last year moved to the Rochester, New York area to develop the global mobility program for the company. And this is probably the 4th company I'm doing this for. We're building it from the ground up, policies, etc., everything that you need to do, including securing appropriate vendor partners. Yeah, and this is a great panel. I'm looking at all these wonderful faces that I have yet to meet, but thank you, Ed, for putting this together. This is exciting.
It's really exciting. So Harvinder spoke at a couple of our meetings in Houston. I think it was all in this century, but
yeah.
I remember, no, never mind. We'll just get back to that later. So make sure you exchange emails, okay, in the chat here, okay? Okay, coming from Athens, wonderful Athens, Maria Christina Kouris, welcome again. Maria, say hi.
Oh, she's on mute.
Maria.
Hello. Now you can hear me.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, Ed. It's amazing, really, the team that you have there so far. I mean, good luck with what you're doing. So, hello, I'm Maria. I'm coming from Athens. I'm the managing director of Corporate Relocations Greece. So we're helping people when they're coming here. And we have relocated some amazing women as well as men. So I'm really happy to be here and to be able to comment in this discussion.
Thank you. Okay, in Brazil, we have Juliana Ruiz, who's an attorney. Hello, Juliana.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Ed. Happy New Year. And thank you for having me here, me and my daughter here. And yes, I've been working in global mobility for over 10 years now. I run a company with focus in immigration and taxation. And I'm pleased to be here again and sharing our thoughts, our opinions, and thank you.
Thank you. And from Luxembourg, Stéphane Compin, welcome, bonjour.
Hi, well, thanks for the invitation on the panel. I'm based in Luxembourg, running a relocation and immigration firm. And like Maria, I assist people arriving in Luxembourg, but also living to other countries. And I'm also happy to announce you will be the first one to know that we are launching a new business as from next week, which is an au pair agency in Luxembourg.
Au pair. Yeah, well, congratulations and good luck. Okay, let's move on. Dolly Zaharoni is currently relocation mobility, a mobility consultant with a large pharmaceutical. Hello, Dolly.
Hi, Ed. Thank you for having me. I know it's been a while that I do owe a visit here on your show, but I admire it. So yes, keeping it to 30 seconds. I'm Dolly Zaharoni. I've been in the mobility industry for, gosh, 16 years. It was something I got into and fell in love with on the RMC side, the relocation management company side, doing a lot of consulting work. And then I moved over to doing it on the corporate side, got very heavily involved, not just in the mobility and talent deployment, but also all international HR, including performance and reward, compensation, payroll, things like that. So for me, it was very important and still is to be very well rounded in mobility and international HR. So yeah, right now I am working at AbbVie Pharmaceutical. I love it. It's very challenging and rewarding at the same time. We're doing a lot of great things. We're growing. And one of the things that I appreciate about my current role and being at AbbVie is that we do, integrate mobility. It's a very important factor. It's a very important piece of international HR. So it's very valued, which is something that I'm a big advocate of.
We have 36 people online coming, and we welcome you all to introduce yourselves either using the chat or coming on visible. Let's move on quickly. Diane Devitt and I are friends now for several months, since COVID, I guess.
Yes.
And Diane has been our guest on our TV show several times in the role of being a media trainer. In other words, how to look good on camera.
Oh, see, everybody just moved when you said that, Ed. Everybody just went like this, their body language, like, I hope she's not looking at me, right? I'm checking you all out, ladies, especially. Anyway, thank you for having me. Great to be here. Everyone, the 2 seconds is I spent my life relocating people in a different manner through the meetings, events, and production industry. So I had them encapsulated in a space and I had to change their way of thinking in a short time. I now am a producer and a coach. And as Ed said, I am doing media presence training, which I'm finding is helping many executives enhance their online presence. And aside from that, I'm an author, speaker, and professor at NYU, and I love to get in trouble with Ed. So great to be here.
We've done this several times, yes. Electronically. Someday we're going to meet in person, I'm sure. Okay, let's go over to Dubai and say hi and warm welcome, Nazia. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Ed, and very, very nice, of course. Nice to see you here as well, but nice to see all the women. So many. I mean, I think I've never been on a show with so many participation, especially women, but hi to all the men as well. No bias, equality.
Right.
So,
nothing unconscious here. Everybody's
yes,
conscious.
nothing unconscious.
Right,
It's
okay.
always lovely to see all the women, such nice, warm faces and great professionals. I'm based in Dubai. I'm basically from Pakistan, came to Dubai 15 years back, started off with an oil and gas company as the HR person, and eventually ending up in global mobility. Past 6.5 years, been consultant. So I'm not converted now. So I'm consultant now. So I'm no more
everybody wants to get your email and your LinkedIn page, so type it in, okay? And
sure, I'll do it again.
So I will say that Nazia has worked covering Middle East for Serva until COVID. So very, very experienced and very knowledgeable about the relocation industry, particularly oil and gas in the Middle East. So Nazia, we're going to come back to you in a few minutes. Sarah, Welcome, Sarah Marissa Seminetti from Interconnects. Hello.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's good to meet you all. And Ed, thank you for the invitation.
You bet.
I'm going to try to keep it brief, but I've been in relocation or in the mobility industry for about 20 years since I graduated from college, which was art school, by the way. So how I ended up here was basically just pure curiosity and sort of fascination with the idea that people's companies were moving them all over. I am sort of a second culture person. My parents are they are actually immigrants from Italy. So I do have that cultural imprint. I spent a lot of time there. Now I'm with Interconnects, been with them about 20 years in various roles, and always looking to learn more. So it's very good to meet you all.
So Sarah, welcome. She was on a program we did just back in the early days, and I think it was late March or so.
Yes, very early on when we weren't really sure what was going to happen. And so here we are again, and good to keep it going.
Yeah, well, good for you guys at Interconnects. So you mentioned Italy, of course, and I want to say that tomorrow on this program, beginning at 8 a.m. California, we're producing a program based on Italy. And our guests are 4 or 5 people, all within the mobility services business based in Italy. And so if anybody wants to get a link, just let me know.
Okay? Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so let's move on. Tracy Toth, thanks so much for being on this program. I welcome you. This is the first time. Tracy, unmute yourself and please say hi.
Hi, Ed. How are you? It's great to see you. We haven't seen each other for quite some time, but thanks for inviting me to this. It's great to see so many female faces out there, and I'm with. I've started a consulting firm. I was formerly with McDonald's Corporation, the one that sells hamburgers, for just over 20 years, which is difficult for me to believe. And so I've left there last year to start a consulting firm to help corporations with benchmarking of their policy design, process design, as well as assistance with the RFP process for vendors for services. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from everyone else.
So before we jump off, tell us about your work with the Chicago Relocation Council.
Oh, the Chicago Relocation Council. So it is a local council that brings together both corporations as well as the suppliers that service those firms. We have about 250 member companies, and of course, various members from those companies join us 4 times per year for events in the Chicagoland area. So it's a regional relocation group that provides education for our members. And we partner with other groups like Worldwide ERC and some of the other local councils in Wisconsin and also in St. Louis.
Great. Yeah, I'm very familiar with Jennifer Breen and Matthew and some of the others, of course. So let's introduce Kata Mayorga, an attorney. And hello, Kata. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Good afternoon. Hola. My name is Kata Mayorga, and I'm a first generation here in the United States. As you can see, I'm Spanish, and I work in the global mobility field. I have collaborated with few companies in the Bay Area. They're all in the tech field: Workday, Dropbox, Riverbed, Drew Labs, and now DoorDash. For that, I specialize a little bit in immigration. As you know, every day it's a new life here in the US, so very challenging as it is right now. We also help with relocation and global tracking and taxation, which is a very, very hot topic right now, where everyone is and how we're gonna face taxes around the globe. I also have run integrations with workflows and Workday. So as you know, HR systems are very important for big and small corporation. We need to keep track of everything what's happening right now. And usually that helps to, before you make the big move, go an IPO. So my next chapter in life is, confirm and make sure companies are compliant. And also I would like to dig a little bit more in IA, artificial intelligence. And on the side projects, I volunteer. I love helping my Hispanic and Latino community. So I volunteer for the Women's Building, Casa de la Mujer, Latinas in Tech. We empower young Latinas to go in tech and be engineers. And also I am the Vice President of the Canadian Hispanic Congress, and we're helping our Hispanic community in Canada. Thank you, nice to meet you all.
Kata has spoken at our meetings in San Francisco, and thank you for being on this program for the first time. Let's go to India. Hello, Shraddha, and thank you for being up so late.
Yeah, thanks, Edwin. It's good to be back, I would say, and I can see a lot of familiar faces. Hi there, everyone, and good to meet the other guys as well. Yeah, this is me, Shraddha. I'm dialing in from New Delhi, India. And I run a global mobility company that works on in destination services and immigration consulting. And kind of like what Dolly said, I fell in love with the field 4 years ago, and I love what I do. And it's great to connect with all of you.
Oh, really? So your company's called Resettle, correct?
That's right. Yeah, it's called Resettle. And what we have our tagline that says, happily resettled. We want to show you the nice side of India.
Welcome. I really thank you for coming. Michael, hello. You're in Amsterdam today. Michael Piker, welcome.
Yes, great to be here. Originally from New York in global HR, lived and worked, I think, in 9 countries now. Teaching at NYU and Erasmus in the Netherlands at the moment. So great to be here.
Great. So Michael recently retired from a senior executive talent management role. Total Rewards, I believe, right? Right, and with PMI in Switzerland. So I really thank you for being back on this program. Andrew Brucey, so you're into AI and VR and Relo, and can all that come together?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, and Kata, that was interesting. If you ever want to chat AI, we definitely can. So I lead Venium Global, and which is an HR consultancy firm specializing in HR technology, global mobility, and diversity inclusion. So a big piece of what we do is in the conversational AI space and some, robotic process automation, stuff like that. So yeah, the culmination of that is, almost a necessity of high volume. I previously led the mobility program for Walmart. And so, yeah, very happy to be here, Ed. Thank you for the invite, and honored to be featured with such an esteemed panel.
Yeah, so, I think you should join me tomorrow morning on the show I'm producing in Italy.
I'd love to.
Okay, maybe you can help me speak with these people.
Right. Actually, Sarah, I'm the second generation Italian as well. So glad to have a couple, fellow home country members here.
All right. So now I want to shift gears and introduce a new friend, Raz Huang. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Raz?
Raz Huang. It's a little bit difficult for you, so.
Yeah, with my tongue. I can't. So tell us about, I will introduce you briefly. Raz and I were on this program about a month ago with a concert pianist playing on this show. Amazing. And it was really beautiful. So Raz is with Athena, which is, it's a nonprofit, right? And you have to do with wellness, employee wellness, and the idea of music. Is that correct?
Yes, in a way. Yes, definitely.
All right, tell us exactly what we should know.
Ed, thank you so much for the invitation. And amazingly, you got me up at 8 o'clock in the morning. And definitely it's worth it to see all of you around the world. So I have been in business for 25 years, always in cross-border management consulting, focusing technology, biotech, and wellness, where our firm successfully raised capital for 900 million. And starting 2017, my focus is in wellness. So currently, I'm a co-founder and CEO of Athena Music Wellness Therapy. We're a global platform currently located in the United States, Italy, Florence, and in Shanghai, China. What we do is 3 platforms. We provide our music therapy treatments. We have a roster of over 48 certified music therapists and professors. We do therapist education, currently partner with 6 universities, 2 of the online education platform. In China, we're on a 600 million pay user education platform called Himalaya. So after all this year in the United States, 2 things are very dear to me, which is women leadership and entrepreneurship. I'm currently on the board of UCI's beer centers that really to help students with their master's degrees in innovation and entrepreneurship. So I love to connect and love to share and support women leaders, especially in the sector. Now I'm really focusing on wellness. I believe that is the foundation and the needs around the world. And are glad to see each other. Glad to see all of you.
Yeah, so Raz and I are going to have a program in a few weeks. We're going to let everybody know about it. And so you can actually experience the idea of music on the program. Let's go to Toronto area. Olivia Barami, welcome again.
Hello, thank you, Ed, for the invitation. And it's great to be in such amazing company with all these wonderful people, some of which I'm yet to meet. But my name is Olivia Bahrami. I am the founder and CEO of Prime Communications, which is the only corporate communications firm specializing in global mobility. So we deal with customized and compelling corporate communications, particularly for relocation management companies and for mobility service providers. So some of the things that I help my clients with are RFPs, which I hear Tracy also does, case studies, white papers, articles, marketing collateral and brochure, essentially anything that has to do with written communications in the global mobility space. That's something that I specialize in.
Okay, thank you very much. So we want to talk about leadership and women in leadership roles, particularly in the this new economy that we're in and all this craziness. And I just read this morning about the Las Vegas-based Consumer Electronics show, which usually attracts 100,000 people close face-to-face, but this year it's all on Zoom. And there were, for the first time, women in leadership roles in keynote. So there were 3, one from General Motors, one from Advanced Micro Devices, and there was somebody else I can't remember. This was the first time there were women in these opening keynote roles at the Las Vegas Consumer Electronics. So it's real. That's for sure. Kate Skelly, welcome. Introduce yourself, please.
Thanks, Ed. Hi, I'm Kate Skelly. I am the founder of Homeport Stays. We are a corporate and temporary housing company based just outside of Boston. Our primary market is the New England area, but we provide temporary housing and corporate housing services nationwide. So I appreciate the invitation, Ed, and it's nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, it's great. So folks, I know many of you don't know this, but I'm originally from Boston area. So it's really nice to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Ali Shami and I have known each other about 20 years. He's in the Seattle, area and recently retired as a senior manager with Boeing aircraft. In his prior life, he sold airplanes around the world and then became a champion of the customer. So Ali, why don't you do a better job than I just did?
Hello, I'm right here. I notice every time somebody talks, we'll look for the box. Where is everybody? So I'm just making myself visible. Thank you so much, Ed, for inviting me. I wish I could say this is Ali from sunny Seattle, like you introduced San Diego. But if I do that, my credibility will sink big time. So after 28 years with in international business, my company, FTD Global, it's a global leadership consulting company. I'm so looking forward to this discussion. And I'm a woman ally. So it's really important for me. This is a great opportunity to be influenced and influence. Thank you for having me.
You betcha. Okay, let's move on. Angie Weinberger, thank you so much for doing this program again. Angie is based in Zurich. Angie, tell us a little bit about your people transition business, and particularly with a focus on people looking for a new job now.
Yeah, hi Ed, hi everyone. So great to see you all again. Happy New Year. Some of you, I think I know, most of you, I would say, yeah, 3/4 I probably know. Yeah, so I'm basically, I would say I'm basically a global mobility coach. I help expats and expat partners in various stages of their international assignment and their international careers. As you can imagine, I'm helping a lot of expat partners, especially from certain minorities in Switzerland, where I'm based, with finding a job right now. So I would say it's always been tough on expat partners, but obviously with COVID and the crisis, it's been a bit harder. So I'm trying to mobilize my resources, my network, to help more people find a job. I think that's one key area of focus. I'm also working in consulting for companies on the global mobility front in-house, and I'm teaching, as Michael earlier mentioned, at Erasmus University as well. So we move the profession to the next level together.
Angie, let me ask you about, so many people are looking for jobs now. So what's the first thing people should think about? Is it about imagining themselves already in a new position before they get into an interview? So in other words, how can people prepare for a job interview?
So, I mean, I think it's often is an attitude issue, that we think we're asking for something when we look for a job. Instead of putting ourselves into the position where we think we already have the job, and now how do we contribute to help this company solve the problems that they face? And if we think about the problems that the company faces, and we jot them down and we think of them as challenges that we would like to help tackle, the preparation that we do is a lot more sincere. Yeah. So for example, we put more effort into a cover letter or a video pitch that we're creating, or any type of preparation that we do for the interview. So I always tell my clients to imagine that they already have the job. Yeah, so that they're in the position, they have the job, and they prepare as if they already had the job. And then I guess the other thing is that I'm convinced you cannot find a job without having a good network. Yeah, so what we're doing here is job search or client development, basically.
So just like you saw in the chat from Raz saying that she has a position open, if anybody wants to make contact with Tracy or Nazia or Angie, please just type that in, okay? You can do it privately, or you can let me say it too if you want. Laura Levinson, welcome.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I owe my company and my colleagues a lot of money because we have a mute swear jar. So every time you forget to take yourself off mute, you got to put some money in the pot. Anyway, it's like, wasn't it the buzzword of 2020? You're on mute or something like that. Anyway, yeah. It's nice to see all your faces. I'm Laura Levinson. I work with Weichert Workforce Mobility, and I'm in our consulting and advisory services group. So actually, a lot of you are not familiar to me. So it's nice to see like one or two faces I recognize. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about China, and I know you're fluent to some respect. Why don't you tell people about your expertise. We want everybody to learn something, at least one thing that everybody else can use.
Wow. Okay. Well, you mean something language-wise, or just something about my experience in China?
Anything you're comfortable with.
Anything I'm comfortable with. Well, since our topic today is about women in business, I will say that I lived in China in the 80s. So that's like, some of you weren't born yet. But anyway, one thing that really struck me as really interesting way back then was there was really very little distinction between women's jobs and men's jobs, right? You saw tractor trailer drivers, truck drivers, women, engineers, all that. And, I know a lot of people have negative things to say about communism, but I will say that that was one of the silver linings. I was just so impressed way back then how many women held positions of leadership. And so I would say that in that respect, they were and are way ahead of us here in the United States. And one of the things that I just like to keep looking at is the glass ceiling and the impact that women in leadership roles face. It's like it gets a little better. It's like little baby steps. And then I believe that COVID has really taken us back a little bit. I just read this morning a great piece of research. So this is not really about China, but I read a great piece of research this morning from McKinsey. It's pretty long, but it's well worth the read, talking about the impact of COVID, the struggles for women in general, and particularly women, Black women or women of color. So I see a couple of heads shaking. Yeah. So, it's an ongoing challenge for us. We have to just keep on pushing and recognize, not get defeated, but recognize the small incremental steps of progress, I think.
Thank you, Laura. We'll come right back to you. I want to introduce formally Nana Haninan, who is a photo artist, once again, in Finland. Nana and I have been together on broadcasts a few times, and welcome back, Nana.
Thank you, Ed. It's really nice to see you, and it's nice to see so many people in this meeting.
So one of the specialties of Nana is she's a professor, a teacher, using imagery, photos, and from a cross-cultural communications idea. Just say we're looking at me, okay, so what do you see? So some people will see my beard, others will see these, others will see the fireplace over there. And so what does that mean? So Nana, why don't you be a little bit more scientific than I just was about the meaning and the usefulness of looking at photos and communicating across cultures?
Sure. So originally I'm a conceptual photographic artist, and I'm actually still working as an artist, having 2 retrospective exhibitions right now here in Finland. And from this conceptualism that I have created in my art, I have also created a method called Nemo. And Nemo Method uses art and photography to help people to understand each other better from different new perspectives. So I kind of create a safe space among people with art, and help people to become more secure with all the unknown things that is going on in the world right now. So I use art to create safe space, basically.
Okay, so you have a division, a company in Silicon Valley, correct?
Yes, I have the mother company is here in Finland, and we have a small branch. It's in Silicon Valley, and we are trying to make our way in there as well.
Well, I want to make sure that you are introduced by me to Kata Mayoga, who's in the Silicon Valley region, and I'm sure she can connect you better.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to help. Yes.
Thank you, Kata. I will contact you.
Please.
All right, I want to welcome Samantha. Please say hello, Samantha. Introduce yourself.
come on, unmute. Hello, and a happy and healthy new year to you all from the south coast of England. I am the business person behind the foundation of Domestic Angels Franchising and also the global fintech company Paxan. So my whole thing in life is to empower people to take control of their time, lives and money through my business opportunities and philosophy that I have on offer. And backing this up, I get involved with what's going on in the world by being part of the Conurbation 2050 group, which is a few business leaders and politicians who look at what's going to happen in 30 years' time and how do we want our urban areas to look and our society. Last year, we managed to look about 30 seconds ahead of us on a regular basis because it was all a little bit much to think about. I'm also an appointed representative by Baroness de Souza for Parliament Week, which gives me the right to empower our young people, our teenagers, to find their voice in politics and speak up for themselves so that they will move into the next generation and actually vote and do something about society. I'm a lone parent ambassador for the Department of Work and Pensions as well, for all of the work we do in employing, empowering women. I'm sure, like yourselves, like endless things that you can say, to all those people who travel around, bonjour, moi moi, hey allesamen, I speak the languages too. And for those of you who are relocating people, maybe those people don't necessarily need a job, maybe they need a business. That could be something to think about. I'll put my link to LinkedIn profile for LinkedIn in the chat in a moment, and I'll be so happy to connect with any of you. And Diane, I should have had a health warning to know that you were going to be on here because I just came in from the garden and just stuck my hair up. Thank God I was smiling.
That's funny. Okay, let's go to Galia. Galia, hello. Say hi. Welcome.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's nice to be with you all today. My name is Galia Peretz. I am the VP of Business Development for Weichert Workforce Mobility. I work with my wonderful colleague, Laura Levinson. My role is really more on the business development side of our industry, and I've been in mobility for over 20 years. I've had the wonderful opportunity to actually live the work that I do. I've relocated 3 times myself. Like Samantha, I'm fluent in 3 languages. So it's really been an interesting journey to work in mobility and see 20 years ago where mobility was to where it is today, and some of the different developments that we've seen over the years, and certainly this year with COVID, some of the impacts that have taken place around women at work. And I'm looking forward to this discussion. It's really nice to see all of you and meet some new people.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your help and advice and coordination to help make this program happen, Galia. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
So I want to go back to Diane Devitt. So Diane's earlier life, I don't mean to embarrass you at all, but you were a Broadway actress and performer, and now have turned those skills into helping people become camera ready, and also, of course, advising them for meetings. So you wrote a book, I believe, about what color is your meeting. Is that correct?
What color is your event? Close enough. It's a creative resource book that I actually been looking at lately, and I realized that even with virtual meetings, it can be applied. Creative concepts are creative concepts, and you adapt them to whatever situation you're in. And Ed, just for the record, everyone, yes, I did do some acting, but don't look me up in Broadway credits, okay? I'm mostly a speaker, and this is where my acting has served me well.
So what color would you call this meeting?
Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh. I think it would be sparks, because there's just too many coming out. It would be like fireworks with just different colors, because each one of you has such a unique personality and a distinct personality. But if I had to choose one, I would say an area of blue, because blue is all about communication, and everyone is so eloquent in the way they introduce themselves and describe their work with passion.
Okay, that's a beautiful picture. Nana, what color or what kind of photograph do you think would describe this kind of a meeting?
Well, I would say a colorful photograph of a landscape, for example, of a city, of New York City. Yes, that would be a good visualization of this meeting.
Well, my initial thinking of a photographic image for this is a rainbow. And so many different people, so many different backgrounds. I don't know if we can fit any more heads on the screen here, but we always would welcome more people from different backgrounds and opinions to join us. With that in mind, I want to introduce Maria Druco, who's an expert on Asia. Hello, Maria. Welcome again.
Hi, Ed. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation. So I am originally from the Philippines, from Asia, but I immigrated to Canada 13 years ago. So I've had a lot of experience, pharmaceutical experience, sales, as well as human resource experience. So what I'm doing right now is I'm the managing partner of Consult Asia Global. So we are a training development firm providing soft skills training as well as consulting. But my specialty is I'm in human resources, but I focus on diversity and inclusion. So I have done training in terms of intercultural training as well as team alignment training. So I use this training as well as assessments and tools to help organizations create that inclusive and diverse workforce and retain that diverse workforce. And I also do mentoring, and it's a volunteer work for to help immigrants here in Canada to actually, reinvent themselves and achieve their full potential, because there's a lot of waste of talents for immigrants, I believe, because they have not been tapped into, because they don't know where to go, they don't know where to start. And so that's part of my volunteer activity as well as a mentor for immigrants.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to Laura Levinson. Laura, about D&I and women in leadership roles and the current state of the mobility industry, is there a disconnect, or are things coming together? What's your view?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, in the mobility industry, one thing that's fun about being on the RMC side of this is that we work with so many different clients of all industries. So there is no one answer to that question. I think it really depends on what industry we're in. And within the industries, some companies are definitely more progressive than others. So I do work with a few clients. At the moment, I'm working on a couple of projects with some technology and manufacturing companies, and they are very progressive. So they are in the midst of revamping their policies and their programs. And in that context, they're doing things like changing all the language around, partners and spouses and gender identification and things like this. So that's one thing. The other is around adding components to policies that are more inclusive. So giving flexible opportunities, flexible benefits that make it more feasible for folks to accept a move or an assignment, whereas in the past they may not have been able to because they didn't get childcare, or they didn't get spouse partner assistance for a trailing spouse partner who's a male, or a same-sex marriage, counseling on destination services for appropriate neighborhoods in a place where LGBT is not necessarily as welcome as it might be in another place. So the answer is it's all over the place. It's all over the map. But there's definitely nowadays more recognition that this is sort of like, you kind of have to address this, whether you personally, your personal feelings aside about any of it, in order to be sustainable business, you really need to look at these questions and look at this kind of support when it comes to mobility.
Yeah, thank you, Laura.
Sure.
We'll circle back. Okay, Tara Hagen has to leave. Thank you very much for showing up. Let's go back to Nana. about creating through pictures and images open and equal safe space. So what do you mean by that? And Nana, I invite you to display a picture if you'd like, and we could all try to figure out what it means and see if,
we actually published a book also last year, which is called Now is Now, which is an art book about my art. So I will show one image from here. I hope you can see this. Can you see the image?
Sort of a dark picture of looks like a person.
Yes, there is a boy.
Sorry, Ms. Maria, is it the one that you also have on LinkedIn, or?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's the same photo. So when I make my clients look at art and talk through art, I tell stories about these artworks. And for example, this artwork is called The Necessity of Growing Up. And it talks about that we all actually have to grow up all the time in our minds. But of course, children, they grow very strongly, even if we as parents don't want our children to grow up because we want to keep them safe and close by, but they grow and they have this enormous curiosity, which I envy children of. And we all should, learn from the children the curiosity and the courage that they have. And so this work is called The Necessity of Growing Up, and the boy has a slingshot. It's actually my own son, Carlo, in this image, and he has a slingshot, and he's aiming into the darkness, and the darkness here symbolizes the future, which is unknown. We don't know what kind of a future we are facing, actually, and I speak now about the climate change, which is the biggest crisis besides the pandemic, but the even bigger crisis that we are facing in the future.
Thank you, Nana. And now a word from our co-sponsors. Our programs wouldn't happen without the wonderful support of our advertisers. Here they are.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice,
at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
CubeMonk, featuring the world's first smart cube. Track your goods with our advanced GPS system. Welcome to the future of moving and relocation at cubemonk.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by heirs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at heirs.com.
Insured Nomads provides protection and peace of mind with health insurance, travel insurance, group, or tailored insurance for the globally mobile. Visit us at insurednomads.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Hi, my name is Christine. I'm a nurse from the Philippines, and I got to know IAS through Worldwide Health Staff Solutions. And I want to thank IAS, especially to Matthew, for helping me get my car stress-free, headache-free. And so just want to show you the car that I got. So it's a RAV4 XLE 2020.
As an expat moving to the USA, relocating is exciting, but it can also be stressful. Getting a car, truck, or SUV for personal transportation is usually a high priority. That's where International Auto Source comes in. We make getting the vehicle you want for your work assignment or academic program easy, so you're ready to drive when you arrive. Our product specialists have helped over 50,000 expatriates with their personal transportation needs, making us the largest international auto retailer in the world. International Auto Source gives you flexible payment options to buy, lease, or rent a vehicle from the world's leading auto brands, arrange financing on a purchase or lease without a U.S. credit history, social security number, or driving record, get full insurance coverage, and get approved easily through our low-rate factory-backed financing programs. And because we're an authorized distributor of the world's leading automotive brands, our no-haggle prices are competitive, and the buying experience is hassle-free. We'll even guarantee your new vehicle will be ready the day you arrive. With over 20 years of experience in the global community, we are the vehicle experts for expats. We are International Auto Source.
Dr. Natalie Forrest, mental health is a huge issue today, and there's different telemedicine available so people can get counseling. From your view and your professional view, what do you see happening here, and how can people, I know this is silly in 30 seconds or a minute, but what advice can you give us to impart to our own contacts and our own families in this time of great stress?
That is a tricky question, and I was going to refer back to Nana because I was going to share an image that my daughter actually drew about what is going on. However, to be precise about your question, Ed, I think the most important thing right now is to, one, allow your emotions to come out, two, embrace them, and three, talk about them. Because what we see right now, and that goes for families, for children, as well as for teams, what we see right now is this anxiety. People getting more aggressive, people not sure if somebody's smiling or not, people worried about what the other person is doing. It all in the end goes back to what I call taking a breath, and really closing your eyes and taking a breath. But it really is just important to understand that we have those emotions, not bottle them up, and talk about it with people that understand you, and that those may be your family members, that may be counselors. I think here in Baltimore, for example, I heard that some of the teachers have asked for specifically more money in the budget for counselors. I do think if we go to mindfulness and wellness, as Raz was also talking about, that will also be good so that we don't over talk it.
Thank you. Michael Piker, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, in a global, very, very eloquent, Natalie. My gosh, that was very, very nice. If you think about the construct of everybody Zooming and the fact that you can't talk to people face to face, in the global HR agenda now, I've worked in 6 public companies, mental wellness and well-being is probably top of the people agenda. And I can say emphatically that every CHRO and every major public company is using this as an opportunity to bring change and actually show authenticity to people's wellness issues. The fact you're working from home, working from anywhere, and you can't see somebody in the eye is something that's really, really tough.
Thank you, Michael. Olivia Bahrami, how did you get started in your own business? And I just want to preface all this by saying something that I was told, that Olivia was laid off when she was pregnant. Can you believe that? And so that was quite shocking, I believe, or I would assume that it is. So what made you, what was that pivot, that thing that got you, that spark, if you will, that says, well, I can form my own business? And then how did you do that, Olivia?
Yeah, thank you, Ed. So yeah, I love to share my personal story because I think it is relevant, and I think it's also inspiring to other women that are in a tough position when they're about to bring a child into the world. I was 7 months pregnant when I was laid off from my corporate job, and I used to work at an RMC that was acquired by Weikert. So I was heavily pregnant. I had no plans of, starting a business, but this gave me the opportunity to really dive into my spirit of wanting to pursue entrepreneurship. I've always sort of had an inclination to pursue entrepreneurship, and I always wanted to do my own thing. So I thought, okay, I have no job to go back to. I have a child that I'll be on maternity leave with for 12 months. Here in Canada, and then once that's done, then I will start my own business, and that's what I did. In fact, during my mat leave, that's when I really started to get all of my ducks in a row. I essentially just reached out to my network. I created a website. I really leveraged the skills and the value that I can provide to my clients as sort of my value proposition, essentially. So that's really what happened, and it was I was very. I don't want to say lucky. I want to say that I was successful in making sure that I'm able to find clients, and I did. And when I returned from my maternity leave, I started with 2 clients, and now I'm up to about 10 clients. So I'm really, really fortunate, but I also worked for it. So I think it's important that us women start with self-belief, and before we sell ourselves to the world, let's look inward and really make sure that we know what our value proposition is, believe in what we do and how we do it, and show that to the world, because I think that is very important. And let's not sit back and be humble. I really hate that word, because if you look in the dictionary, the word humble means to have a lower importance of yourself. So think about this. Do you want to have a lower importance of yourself? I don't think so. Whether you're a man or woman, let's think about that and incorporate that into who we are as people, personally and professionally.
Let's do a deep dive now. Your expertise is RFPs, and there's so much going on right after New Year's Day. It seems like everybody's redoing, rethinking, reimagining the needs of the customers as a result of COVID and uncertainty. So do's and don'ts, RFPs.
Yeah. Really quick. So some of you are familiar with RFPs. also known as request for proposals. Some of you aren't. It's essentially a sales document that is issued by a company looking for a specific service or product. So that's something that I help my RMC clients with. So real quick, I have just 3 do's and don'ts. The first one, when you receive an RFP, you should discuss internally with your team what are the win themes and what are the key synergies that you are able to use when you're putting together your proposal. That is very important. The second thing that I would recommend that you do is customize your responses and don't just put out boilerplate information. That is not going to work. So customizing your responses to fit the client's needs, industry, and corporate culture is very important. They want to know that you can do the job, but execute how you will do the job. You know, and then the other thing is understand the evaluation criteria. So more often than not, an RFP will have an evaluation criteria that the prospect or client is looking for, and you should tailor your responses to fit those specific evaluation points. That way you'll have better success of getting shortlisted to the next stage, which is usually the presentation, or you might even win the RFP out of the gate that way. A few don'ts: failure to qualify the opportunity. So things like, if you know, have you ran a value proposition internally and also a revenue proposition to see if it's a good opportunity. Understanding if you're able to meet the requirements, not just simply responding that you can, but actually detailing how you can meet those requirements is very important. Don't wait to submit your response until the last minute, because there may be technical issues. There might be something that you have forgotten to include in your proposal package. And then the final thing is don't proofread the document yourself. I would always suggest that if you're the person that's working on the response, allow somebody else that you trust internally to review your document, because you've looked at the document for hours on end. It's very easy to miss a little sloppy mistake. So that's why I would say give the other individual on your team the response so that they can look at it for you, proofread it, and make sure that all of the work that you've done and all of the hours that you've spent are not going to waste. So I know that's really, really quick and it's a lot to unpack, but those are just some quick tips. And if any of you have any questions regarding those, I'm here to speak more on them.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Sophia Bentink. Welcome, Sophia. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Ed, and thank you so much for the invitation. It's lovely to meet you all. A lot of new faces around here. Some of you I have seen before. My name is Sophia Bentink. I am originally from the UK, and I am the founder and CEO of Anchor Relocation Worldwide, based in Mexico, providing destination services and immigration into Mexico and around other countries in the world as well, and leading an all-women team, which I've been doing for the past 12 years.
Oh, thank you so much. So it's real interesting. And you're in the Monterey area, correct?
That's right, yeah.
Right, and that is south of Texas?
Correct, yes. So it's like a 5-hour drive from San Antonio, Texas.
Right,
so, yeah,
and so there's a lot of multinationals there, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the northern area of Mexico is you know, it has a lot of influence from the US. Obviously, everything's a little bit, you know, with COVID and everything, everything is kind of closed at the moment in terms of borders and movement. But yeah, we have our main office in Mexico City, but I'm based here in Monterey in the northern area.
Okay, that's really good. Let's move on, and I'd like the opinions from Patrick Michaels. You have great experience in dealing with RFPs and startups and management. Patrick Michaels, you know, there's so much that's been going on here the past hour. What do you think of what you've been hearing and seeing today? I'm not looking for praise. I want your critical eye.
Yeah, listen, I am a huge advocate of women in business. You know, fortunately, for those of you who don't know me, my background is really 5-star service residences. So for 15 years, I worked for Corman, and there are 3 brands. And, you know, I was very fortunate. That business is really led by executives that are women. Outside of the Corman family, my mentors have always been women in business. So I'm a huge advocate. I'm also a girl uncle, so a huge advocate of this type of session. And you know, what I'm seeing and you know, I'm listening to all of the expertise. The one thing that I've done over COVID, and we've spoken about this in the past, is the two companies that we've launched are a direct result of COVID. So I think, COVID has been a very challenging time. It's a time of reflection, but, the one thing that I love to emit is just, you know what, it's a really unique time. And again, my two.
Oh, we can't hear you. Oh.
It just froze.
Yeah. Okay. Patrick, if you can hear me, feel free to use the chat and we will come back. Marianne, welcome.
Thanks, Ed. Sorry, got stuck in another meeting.
Yeah, that's quite all right. So you are in the San Francisco area and you're in HR and handling immigration and mobility.
That's correct.
Yeah. And it's a French company, is that correct?
It is a French company.
So tell us about what you see here. I know you've only been on a couple of minutes, but you've been on our previous programs, and now this one is like an explosion of power. So what?
I don't know what you've been doing in the past hour, but just to tell you about my role a little bit at ABOUT WAYS, I manage the foreign national population's immigration matters. So I have to stay compliant with all things immigration, which has been challenging in the Trump arena. So I am looking forward to a more friendlier immigration climate with the Biden-Harris administration.
So I want to make sure you know, and I've met Kata Mayorga, who's doing similar things as an immigration attorney with DoorDash. And prior
wow, DoorDash, cool.
Yeah.
Hi,
Are you in San Francisco?
Yes, I'm here in San Francisco.
Okay, we should meet.
Yeah, we should meet. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Very cool. So Stefan from Luxembourg, you sent a message around to everybody a few minutes ago about women in leadership. So talk about that, please.
Yeah, for me, what is interesting, so it's great to see so many women in the talk today. For me, we'll reach a milestone when we won't have a topic which is women leaders, where it will be only leaders. And I think it's important that we move toward this goal. The question I was asking is, what do we need to do to bring more women in the leaders' role? What has been done already, and suggestions from the ladies around here on what can be done to help the women to move toward entrepreneurship.
Great question.
All right, that's good, good. Okay, now I want to ask everybody who's an immigrant to raise their hands. Okay, so as you could see, there's a number of people who have that experience, and I'd like you to think about it, and we're going to come back to this question in about 5 or 6 minutes, okay? And if we could have a discussion about your advice as we go forward into this new era. I'm not being political, although I want to be, but I'm not. This is all about business, and it's all about interpersonal relations and people coming together from across cultures, across borders. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Okay, now I want to go back to Ali Shami. Your new company, Ali, is called FTD. So what does that mean?
FTD is feel, think, do. So everything we do.
Feel, think, do.
Feel, think, do. And it's not necessarily in that order that we, like everything we do from the minute we open our eyes until we go to sleep, we exercise, we jump from one to the other. We wake up, we open our eyes, we're like, we don't know whether we're sleeping on our stomach, on the side, or whatever. We think, okay, so we have this awareness. And then we feel, okay, my back is hurting, I need to move, but and then we are throughout life, throughout the day, we toss between those three things, and then in learning. So that's really, to me, is more connecting on ourselves. We wake up in the morning and all of a sudden, throughout half of the day, we're a totally different person. We're mirroring the environment that we're in. We're trying to impress more than express. We're trying to make others feel good rather than making ourselves feel good about what we're doing. So it's so important to be centered and live in the now and know what you're doing. And I just love the question that Stefan asked, and I can't wait to put my 2 cents in it. But there's so much information. I've been writing notes, taking notes from the advice and the perspective of everybody in the audience. But basically, FTD, I help people. I like to meet new people. I like just to see new mentees rising and discovering the leader inside of them and shine.
Thank you. I want to go to Dolly Zaharoni. Dolly, you're an immigrant in the past and been in this country a long time already, of course. But I want to ask you about working remotely and also about diversity and inclusion in the world of mobility.
Yeah, I'm originally from Israel, as you know. Came here as a teenager, and those are really tough ages to come to a new country. I think at any age, but as a teenager, you're finding yourself and you have to make friends. You don't know the language, the culture. You have to fit in as a teenager as it is. So yeah, lots of complexities, but maybe at the time I didn't realize, but now that I'm in mobility, it develops compassion, right? So in mobility, for me, compassion is a big deal. With inclusion, that comes not just with culture, but we're facing a lot of not just women having more opportunities and to kind of what Stefan was saying about women in leadership. I think it's looking into the talent pools and finding opportunities for women to have more to be in those positions where we're looking for leadership and acceleration, succession planning, to really dig into that talent pool and focus on women in that area. With regards to diversity and inclusion, I've noticed from many companies that I worked at, a lot of focus on the same sex marriage or partnership and the opportunities in mobility specifically. It's kind of like both sided. You've got employees who fear coming out and therefore, they want to have these opportunities, but they fear coming out to their company, to their employer, and to, and on the other side, it's kind of like you don't want to ask, but you also are not prepared to help support, have like, in some companies I worked for, we developed buddy programs in countries so that our LGBTQ employees would have some local support and advocacy in some countries where it's not like in most places like the US where it's so socially acceptable and things like that. Also educating on immigration and how to work through some of the processes. That's
great. Thank you,
a lot
Dolly.
going on there.
Thank you. Shraddha, before you take off, I know it's late for you. I really appreciate your being on this program, Shraddha. What do you see happening in the next few months in India with regard to relocations?
Yes, well, you caught me just in time. And, just before I get on to India, Stefan, that was a great comment. I mean, that'll be a good day when we don't have to talk about women leaders and just discuss leaders. That would be, that would mean equality more than anything else, very honestly. But yeah, just talking about India, I think things are really improving here. We had a pretty nasty bout a couple of months back, but I do think the curve is bending, and we have seen movement into India. India has always been a great space for investment, for companies moving in. We've seen a lot of movement over the last few months, and with the vaccination coming in and it being rolled out in India as we speak, I think things are looking better every day. So yeah, look forward to working with all of you, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And yes, please come to India.
Yes, please come back on our program. Well,
I would love to. I would love to.
Okay, and I promise I'll set it up earlier for you.
A little bit earlier.
Okay. All right, that's great. Back to you, back to you, Patrick Michaels. Could you join us again?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good, good. Okay, so you were talking about this variety of people and backgrounds and your own experience being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where you lost.
Oh, unfortunately, we're losing your audio again. Sophia, thank you. So Patrick, we're going to come back to you once again. Angie Weinberger, what's going on in Switzerland, in the Zurich area in particular, with relocations?
Well, it's last year I thought we were seeing again a bit more influx into Switzerland. Obviously, everything has been slowed down by the lockdowns in various countries, but Switzerland is doing quite well. So we're still hiring international professionals. It's usually one way. So not so many expats, mostly local transfers into Switzerland. And I can see that I think 2021 is hopefully going to mean more people coming into Switzerland again. Yeah, so that's my hope. Other than that, we're waiting for announcements from the government. So after this show, I'm going to watch the news to see if we're going to have a new lockdown in Switzerland or not.
Yeah, well, best of health. Stay healthy. You've already had COVID once, not again. Right?
I don't want again, no.
Right. Laura Levinson, thank you very much for your time here. I know you're crazy busy these days. So what do you think is happening first quarter, first half in terms of relocation activity from your view?
It's not happening very much, I can tell you that. Interesting what's happening with Weikert, because we have recently had some really, really great wins in terms of new business onboarding. But, you know, let's be realistic. I mean, the new business is onboarding, but it's going to be a slow start, we feel, into the actual volume of movement. So the reason I've been busy in consulting and advisory is because many companies are using this time to retrench and refortify and, you know, take this moment to say, okay, this is a great time to redo our policies or relook at how we could improve our process. Obviously, cost savings is a huge, huge thing right now because of all the losses that have been felt to now. So that's where, you know, my role is pretty critical. So I guess, you know, we just have to hang in there. It's going to be a slow start. I mean, I really do think it's going to be a slow start. Having said that, like I said earlier, it, you know, depends on industry and it depends on location, because we do have a couple of clients, more than a couple, I'll say a dozen or so clients who are in industries where it's totally been business as usual the whole time. Like, you know, essential workers have to move. The other thing is for intra-regional movement in Asia Pacific, a lot of the business has come back already. You know, they are moving people. So lots of activity in Malaysia, lots of activity within Singapore, Taiwan, all these locations. So it's a mixed bag, and I'm feeling more hopeful. I think we need to get past some of the politics in the United States, hopefully peacefully. And so by the end of this month, we can really focus on, you know, COVID and getting through and retrenching and seeing the volume come back.
Thank you, Laura. Galia, what about, what kind of support do you see companies offering women?
Yeah, great question, Ed. I think that's always going to be evolving. But, you know, as Laura mentioned before, you know, although the numbers are better now in terms of women accepting assignments, I think there's still a long way to go. Some of the things that companies have been doing, there's been a lot more outreach out there and providing you know, information to women about the different, and not just women, but in general to their, you know, population about the different programs that are available for them. there's been a lot more support and policies that we've been seeing around parental leave and flexibility with, for example, having V&I support, for a woman who's taking on an assignment and wants to bring in a nanny with her. So, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, you wouldn't see that support. But now companies are recognizing, that's a flexibility that's going to help women accept assignments, shared daycare costs, all of these different things. So there's the policy side of it where you see the benefits being a little bit more flexible, but also HR, just reaching out, right? And providing, those discussions with women to empower them to take on assignments. And I think part of it is, and Olivia mentioned something that was really true. I think part of it is being vocal. I think women are more vocal now, and we need to continue being so if we want to take on assignments. Part of the generational area where we're in now, I think is going to help. So as you see, many more women are going into the workforce, especially this newer generation. I think you'll see women are also delaying having children now, as opposed to 20 years ago. So it gives them the opportunity to really take more assignments. So you'll see all of these things helping that mobility for women.
Thank you so much. Andrew Bruzy, in your experience over the years at Walmart, you were a champion of diversity and inclusion, and I know you are even now continuing that. But I wanted to ask you about tech and tech coming into talent management, and that includes mobility, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'd say a couple different things. So first and foremost, we're seeing a lot of technology in things like recruiting and talent management to measure objective skills. So a big thing that we advocate with our clients is skill tracking. And a big reason behind that is so we don't look at, so no one ever feels that they are a diversity hire or diversity promotion. So whether or not you're female or whether or not you come from some kind of diverse subgroup or group, that you never want to be in a position where you feel like someone's looking at you like, oh, they're in that position because they're a woman or because they happen to be gay or because XYZ thing. I was very fortunate during my time with Walmart that I had a mentor who her name's Kath McClay, and so some of you may know she's now the CEO of Sam's Club. So when I originally met her because I moved her, and then joined her mentor circle specifically around women in leadership. And I was the only male in the group, which was hilarious. And everyone kind of looked at me like, uh-oh, what's the wolf doing in this pack? And so the reason for that though was because I think anyone in the HR space, it's a largely female dominated space, which is a fantastic thing. I've been very fortunate to have a number of strong female leaders, but I had a number of female members of my team, and I wanted to know how to be a better leader. It's a different communication style. So to answer your question, Ed, by doing things like very specific skill tracking, and by using technology to both track that, measure that, and convey that. So other leaders can see, hey, I'm working on this project. I need someone with a certain skill set. How do I find that? Then you can do so by using technology, and then you're making objective decisions. So everyone in the entire organization, the individual that's getting that promotion or that's getting that hire, along with any of their peers and colleagues, know it's because they are the best person for the job. And in a big case, that could be women.
Thank you very much. I want to say a big welcome and bonsoir to Fiona from Paris. Welcome. Sahar, before you have to leave, I want you to address the issue of unconscious bias and how to overcome it.
Well, we can't overcome unconscious bias. We can minimize it, because unconscious bias is part of how our actually brain works. The first function of our brain is to protect us and to be efficient on how we absorb the information Scientifically, our brain never changed since the caveman. We are still in the fight, flight, and freeze mode. And this is what you see happening right now. People are staying in their survival mode. And that's why there is a lot of us versus them, kill or be killed. I mean, not in the literal way, but like the caveman time. So what we can do about unconscious bias is to understand that we all have it, is what we do with it. That is most important. And most important than unconscious bias, if we're talking about women leadership, is for organization. First of all, to hit the glass ceiling, it's three components. It's the organization, it's the women themselves, and men. Three parts of the solution. So in order for us to overcome unconscious bias is basically also look at the second generation bias that is embedded in the organization, that is subtle, that is part of the guidelines on how we look at leaders in a certain way, not to clone the leaders as basically what we already have. And this is what we call the in-groups bias. We have to be careful of the confirmation bias, affinity bias, in-groups bias, the halo bias, the opposite of the halo bias. So to overcome, to minimize that, it starts with self-awareness. That's number one. How to find out which bias do we have? And there is an online Harvard implicit bias test. It's not perfect, but it's a starting point. And also our emotional intelligence, self-awareness. When we get that knee-jerk reaction, breathe. It takes only 30 seconds to disconnect your survival mode to go to the third level of the brain, which is the analytical mode. So there is a magic number of 6. 6 deep breaths will actually disconnect you from wherever you are to actually analytical thinking.
Thank you so much. Fiona, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening or good afternoon or good morning to some of you. I'm Fiona Mougenot. I run an immigration practice in Paris. Some of you I know already. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a mother of 6 children, a grandmother, a very positive woman. And yes, I do believe a lot about unplugging the brain so that you're not biased. I think we all have to work on it. We all have things that we think, but you can actually, with a little bit of determination, unplug that some of the time. And it's interesting because you discover that you're completely wrong about things you think about as well.
Good, thank you. Okay, let's ask Dr. Natalie Forrest for a comment a little bit about what you've heard here and about how we can manage the stress, working from home, interpersonal relations with the boss, dealing with the external, the roughness of the pandemic and the politics going on. Dr. Natalie, we need your help.
Well, you got me. I was just typing in the chat in response to Sahar. So, well, I think what it comes down to is sort of what I said before, and I love everybody's comments. It really goes back to leadership of self and understanding yourself. That is key. So, Sahar was just talking about judgments and prejudgments. And then before that, it was about, I think it was Andrew, forgive me if I'm wrong, talking about you don't want to be in a job because of. So it all comes down to you knowing who you are and allowing that. How do we deal with the stress? Communication. Honest, open communication. That means you need to voice your prejudgment. You need to voice whether or not you're wondering, why did he get the job? Why don't I? For leaders, the communication right now is crucial. And I talk about that in one of my books because many people manage. There are few leaders, and we have a number of leaders here on the show right now. If you're trying to manage people right now, it's not going to work. You actually need to call up your team members. You need to make sure that if you have them work remote, that you know what their constraints are. Like, Is their school open or not? Just because right now school is supposedly open doesn't mean that one particular school or one particular cohort is not suddenly shutting down. What support network do they have? You know, we talk about maternity leave. Well, what about paternity leave? And is your spouse even willing to stay home with the child while you go off to work? So I think it has to do with leaders really now getting to know their team members. I talk about, you know, recognizing them, respecting them, and the recognition has to be an open communication. I keep saying that word on purpose because I need to be able, if I'm a team member, to tell my leader, today, my daughter has to stay at home and she's going to run in and out of my room. I promise I will do my best. Tomorrow she's back in school. Let me catch up tomorrow. And there needs to be an understanding of that. That will help in the future solidify every stakeholder and every mission and vision for a company's success, whether small or big.
Thank you. In the background is a friend, author, Stephen Howard. Stephen, if you are able to jump in here, come on camera and talk to us about leadership, corporate leadership. It's a title of his book, but he's got a terrific insight. So Stephen Howard, feel free to jump in here. We're going to be on another about 10 minutes or so. Oh, there you are. Okay, good. Welcome, Stephen Howard. Become visible. Okay, we don't see you yet. If you want to, oh, there you are. If you would like to use audio or come on the camera and talk about the leadership that's necessary today, relevant to what Dr. Natalie just said. Cannot hear you. Okay, we welcome you when you can come on. Ali, what do you think of what Dr. Natalie just said about the idea of reaching out one-on-one, make a concerted, honest, sincere effort to communicate with each person?
I totally agree. I mean, connecting on a personal level, and I've always, almost every time we discuss, I quote John C. Maxwell, who says, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. I can sit up here and talk about all the things and here's the solution. But in reality, if you don't connect with a person with somebody on a personal level, speak with your heart, the ear could hear all day, but there's not really that effective communication. I feel that absolutely, and I underscore what Dr. Forrest talked about, leadership versus management. What I see is a lot of managers and they're not leaders, and a lot of leaders that they don't stay for a long time because they don't know how to manage business. I would love to be a leader where everybody loves me in a company, but they can love me only for one day, and at the end of the day, we're out of business. So those of us who've worked in corporate, like I've done in a long time, theory is something, practice is something else. I believe, going back to the question that was asked earlier, what prevents women from being in leadership? I think there are two, and that was, I actually grabbed it, I gathered that from the discussion. Number one is the culture, which I totally agree that the culture is moving towards, we'll have less and less conferences of how women be in leadership, is how we have a human being, not a human doing, in leadership. So hopefully that will no longer have that discussion. And the second thing is that self-talk that we do every day. I'm going to just really quick tell you a Lebanese joke. I was born in Lebanon, and about how the self-talk impacts how we are perceived. If I'm a minority, if a female come into the meeting and already thinking I'm not to that level, like I'm not respected or I don't have what I can bring, already I killed myself. Self-talk is very important. It's like the husband asks his wife, he say, could you go to my wife and to my neighbor and ask her, I need to borrow drill from, drill because I need to work on it. So she says, you know how our neighbor is. She's always negative, blah, blah, blah. She's not gonna let me borrow the drill for you so you can work in the garage. He says, no, please go ahead, do that. So she walks around, and on her way to her neighbor's house, she's talking with herself. She says, I know what's gonna happen. As soon as I'm gonna ask her, she's gonna say, well, last time your husband borrowed the drill, it's not working, we got it, and it's more. I was like, but as soon as she says that, I'm going to say, no, don't worry, now we have better way of doing things. But I know how negative she is. So what she's gonna do, she's gonna tell me, well, last time you saw it, we had to replace the battery in it. And it's like, no. So I'm gonna respond and say, don't worry about it, because we put a new transformer and it's gonna regulate the electricity. So she kept on having that self-talk until she got to her neighbor's door. She knocked at the door opened, she looked at her, she said, to hell with you and with your drill, we do not wanna use it. We don't wanna borrow you. So it's all of it is really up here. As a women ally, I value all the leadership teams that I've been in. When I have the women is missing from those leadership teams and executives, it's not as good as it should be. For some reason, have that atmosphere and have that perspective and diversity of thought is so important. So I just commend you for everything what's been, what you're talking. But I think the solution, it has to be the culture. And there's a lot of women, a lot of men like myself. I want women to be on the team. So there's a lot of folks out there in companies that they want to help, but you got to really get out of this. Oh, I'm not good enough. If I came to the United States, come from Lebanon, and thinking, oh, I don't speak the language, I'm not going to be successful. Oh, I would never been where I've been now.
Thank you, Ali. Stephen Howard, can you hear me? And would you like to jump in and talk about leadership today? I think so, Ed. Can you hear me now? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, great. I totally agree with what Dr. Forrest was talking about earlier. We have to change. We have to change the way we lead in today's world. Empathy's got to be one of the key skills, and we don't get taught empathy in school. We don't get taught empathy in university. We don't get taught empathy in our corporation. So it's something we're all going to have to learn on the fly, unfortunately. I think that's number one. Number two, when I'm coaching people right now, my number one message to them is when you're on a phone call with an employee, the first question you ask, how's the family doing? The second, and talk about any issues with the family. The second question is how your children doing? And then, second question is, how are you doing? And the third question is, now let's talk about business. What's going on? So talk about the family. As she said, you don't know whether the kids are in school or what's happening. Talk about how they're handling things. And then third, now let's talk about the business. I don't care if you talked to the employee yesterday. Still, those are the three questions you should ask. Thanks, Ed, for letting me chime in.
So in one of your prior books that we talked about on an earlier TV show, you and I, was about the brain and the brain of a leader today. So is it hardwired or misconnecting?
It's hardwired, but unfortunately it's hardwired to react. And the premise of my book, which is called Better Decisions, Better Thinking, Better Outcomes, is that the first decision we have to make is do not get emotionally hijacked. Understand, somebody talked earlier about understanding ourselves. Understand our emotions. Our emotions are going to cause us to make bad decisions. So the first decision is we need to become what I call first responders. EMTs don't jump out of the ambulance and rush to a car on fire or the fire truck. They stop. They want to see, is there smoke? Is there a spark? Is it going to blow up? They respond. That's what they call first responders. And that's what I think leaders need to become today. We need to become first responders and not react to people, don't react to events, don't react to situations. Learn to respond. We'll make better decisions.
I want to welcome Elizabeth Soli. Thank you for coming on the show. I invite you to speak, introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you are. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Soli. I'm with Jacob Street Partners. I'm the founder, and I always enjoy conversations about women in leadership, and I think that it's a needed conversation and something that it is definitely an interesting thing to talk about in the post Me Too world, as well as, just in a COVID world and, the changing dynamics of today's society. And I feel fortunate to work in an industry of mobility where there are a number of female leaders, and that we do work in an industry that is very open and caring. And so that, there are plenty of people that I can look out, and ask what their thoughts are and how would they proceed with a certain issue.
All right, thank you very much. Nazia, have you enjoyed this conversation and have you been able to make some new connections, Nazia?
Yes, I've been making connections throughout the conversation. It has been great listening to everybody. So much to learn about equality, because I am also from a diverse background. We are in Middle East where there is so many nationalities. We're still struggling to bring about diverse. I mean, we are diverse society, but we are not very much like an equal opportunity, or women especially being treated equally as men. Just in September 2020, the UAE leadership brought forward this law of equal wages, so which was quite promising. So after so many years, at least we are at this stage, so we have something to offer to the society to make it a better place for everybody. And there are so many issues still. We still fight over, like maternity leaves, which is the I mean, in comparison to every other part of the world, we have only 45 days, which is very, very disappointing. So there are so many platforms, so much to learn from everybody. Thank you, Ed, for this opportunity.
Nazia, you're always welcome to join us, of course. Okay, I want to go back to Maria Druco. Maria, this has been an interesting show for me, and I'm really glad that you have the time to join us today. And I welcome you to talk about your business. Maria.
All right, so thanks, Ed. I haven't mentioned earlier too that, aside from the consulting and HR work, I also own a travel agency business. And so that's why Diane mentioned earlier about a link to all travel women leaders that I'll look into. But just to connect with, having a business here in Canada and an immigrant as well, what I'd like to say is, for one to be able to really go into the mainstream and be successful as an immigrant, I agree with all of the other speakers who mentioned earlier that you need to have self-awareness, you need to have self-confidence. And so having this, information about yourself, knowing that you're here in this country and that you're able to contribute to the economy of this country, it will give you that it will push you to reach your goal, right? To be able to become a successful entrepreneur or, start your own business as a consultant. And so it's more about having that motivation within yourself, having that fire within you, because there's nobody who can help you but yourself. And so what I can say is, as an entrepreneur and as a consultant too, my suggestion is also to have that continuous learning mindset. And so it's not just for yourself, but for the clients that you serve too, because if you have this knowledge, that expertise, you'll be able to serve better your clients and your future customers.
Thank you. Sarah Seminetti, thank you so much for your memo and for staying on this program. What do you see happening in women leadership in the industry?
As a few people have already mentioned before, this mobility industry is sort of women dense. I think there was a survey recently shared that we actually do have the majority in the global mobility space, which I think is probably because of the empathy that women traditionally have been able to practice. And as I mentioned in my comment, I think trust is a really big factor. And I think the question before that was posed by Stefan and Ali about how you can be an ally is to trust women and trust that they know what is right, what is good, trust that they have the experience, the wisdom, and that they can share that and make progress for others. So I think trust is a big part of it. And yeah, thumbs up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The mobility industry, I think, is obviously going through a change, and we're all kind of on the same boat this time. In the past, I think people's different, experiences, backgrounds, demographics, all of these things set people apart, and, for better or worse. But now that we're all in a common experience, I think it's actually, in a way, ironically helpful in that, because we are all sharing the same experience, we have to have empathy for the next person, and we really are all going through it together. So hopefully that'll translate when we come out of it, and people will continue to have the same empathy and the same willingness to, help out the next person when we come through on the other side. So
thank you so much. Andrew, let's go back to technology, stringing us all together for next steps, okay? So will I be able to wear, like I'm wearing these things, will I be able to wear a visual thing to look differently about my job or about the industry?
Oh gosh, we unfortunately may be a number of years out from that, but well, to kind of use a nerdy technology example and bridging it back to the human side of things is a statement that I use a lot is that we are very ancient hardware that is running new software. And so when we're interacting in diverse environments, and also kind of bridging the managerial performance and the leadership, inspiration, empathy gap, a concept I use a lot is tribe. That we are a tribe, that we're always safe within the tribe, and you need to support each other because ultimately we're all going towards the same goal. And I often say the enemy is always outside of the gate. And as human beings with the ancient hardware, we do have biological responses. We do have emotional responses that are based in biochemistry. I just put out a video on this. And it's how we direct those towards the enemy that's outside the gate, and defining that enemy as a goal or a challenge that's going to benefit us all. Because if we're all going towards the same goal, then we can appreciate what everyone brings to the table, and then we can tackle that challenge together. And that is what actually unites us as human beings. But yeah, as technology moves forward, I think we're going to see that as kind of more of a performance enhancing drug. I reference a lot to support each other. And yeah, what you mentioned, even with VR, AR, conversational AI, robotic process automation, these are tools to help make humans better. And that's why we need to be the best humans that we can be on the empathic side.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot. So your analogies are apropos considering what's going on out there in the world. So I thank you all for being on this program. I welcome you all back. We are expanding this theme of women in leadership roles in business. And this program will be on February 1st, and then again on the 1st of March at about the same time. And I welcome you to come back. There will be additional different people added into each program, but you're all welcome to join again. And for those who are interested in joining another topic, all about mobility and about protocols, about how to do things in this new era that we're in, this is going to be a series that is being launched on Friday, and then we'll be continuing on through at least the first quarter of the year on a weekly basis. Once again, free registration always on Global TV Talk Show. And I thank you again for being our special guest. This program will be available in the next 48 hours on demand around the world 24/7 for the next 12 months. So your voice matters to us, and It's possible that the audience for this particular program today will be distributed to approximately 50,000 over the next 12 months. So thank you. I think it's first class, and it's all because of you, not me or Paul, our producer, Paul Johnston. It's because of you, and because of your energy and your expertise, my job is easy. And I don't have to talk so much. I just ask silly questions and jump back. So thanks again, Dr. Natalie. Your time is so valuable and so precious. I thank you for donating some of it here. And I wish you well in all of your entrepreneurial endeavors. In case you don't know, Marianne, 1 second. Dr. Natalie is a featured speaker at a unique publishing thing called Los Angeles Tribune. And you're speaking on a very specific topic coming up, aren't you, Dr. Natalie?
Well, it depends on which one you're referring to, because we also have the Monday Night Live. But on the one in February, I'll be talking about success in business and life, the interconnection that we're also talking about here, always on the personal side. Thank you for the shout out.
You bet. Marianne.
Yes, Ed, what can I do for you?
Oh, you were trying to signal me, I think. So
no, I was just saying I have to go. I just wanted to thank you. It was Happy New Year, everybody. It's great to meet you all and get your insights. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you too.
Once again, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. California, we are broadcasting Italy, all about Italy. And we have 4 people who are in practice in their own businesses, relocation management in Italy. And so that's our focus tomorrow morning. It's free registration. So get your cappuccino ready. Ciao, ciao. Grazie mille. And I think we should hang up here. So
thank you. Bye.
This is Ed in California. Thank you very much for being on Global TV Talk Show.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.